Matt. This is Mental Model Monday number 5. Today we're going to talk about intentions. Intentions, I think, are one of the main building blocks if you want to start understanding yourself, the models you have in your mind, how you work. And I first started playing with intentions when I was maybe about 13, 14. I was playing around with self-hypnosis. And I did sort of a common hypnosis thing where I hypnotized myself that my hands were stuck, that they were glue, that the harder I tried to get them apart, the more they would become stuck together. And so I hypnotized myself, I got myself in that spot, and I found I was like just trying to pull them apart. The more trying to pull them apart, they weren't going apart. And what was happening was my arms were like tightening and like doing some of the things you might do when you're actually trying hard, but they weren't actually moving outwards. And they just sort of got stuck, and I was like, I can't do it. And so I played with this for a while, and what I finally came upon was that I stopped trying to pull and fight and push against this feeling. And instead I just said, wait, there's some block. For me, it was right up here in my forehead. There's something that's stopping me, that's stopping me from doing that pulling. Instead of pulling harder, I'm going to let that thing that's stopping me, I'm just going to let it go. And then it becomes easy to pull my hands apart. And I did this a number of times with forgetting my name, with not being able to say my name, with not being able to say the word the, until I could implant that thing without the hypnosis, and I could get rid of it when I wanted to. And that thing, it turns out, was an intention. It was how I experienced intentions. And so intentions are different from desires. It's really important to understand that. What you want is different from what you intend to do. And they're also different from expectations or shoulds. It's not like this thing that you're supposed to do. It's something that you are going to do. It's a sense of resolve and purpose in you. And I think really getting a handle on what it feels like to have an intention, to have competing intentions, to drop an intention, is really some powerful stuff. So an exercise I recommend you do if you want to try this, but you don't know self-hypnosis, is to get an object and put it in front of you and put in yourself the intention, I'm not going to grab that object, and then go ahead and grab it and feel the moment when that intention slips from you. What does it feel like to have the intention? And what does it feel like for the intention to slip from your grasp? I think having a sense of that feeling of the intention slipping is a very, very powerful experience to have. Another thing I want you to get used to is sometimes when I'm playing basketball and I'm dribbling the ball and I shoot the ball and I go through the motions and my arm goes and my hand goes, and I realized I didn't actually have the intention to make a basket. I was just sort of going through these motions of moving my hand, but the intention wasn't there to make a basket. Similarly to how I was going through these motions of my arms tightening, but I wasn't actually moving my arms apart. And I think this pattern of going through the motions without intending to get the result happens a lot in life. And we have to be very, very careful of that because that can become a habit, and that's not something we want to happen. So being very aware of when do I actually have the intention, and sometimes bringing that intention into our actions can be really powerful. I also think it's powerful to get comfortable with the reverse, which is going into somewhere without any intentions. So you could do a quick mental centering exercise, which I'm going to show you, to get rid of intentions and feel how it goes, feel how it feels to go into something and just let whatever happens. So you can imagine your life as sort of this timeline, or a 3D box, or you can imagine it as like a series of hills and valleys, just some visualization of your past, where you were, your present, where you are now, and your future, where you're going to be. And what I do, I imagine it as sort of this long cord, and I just cut the cord, and I let the past drift away, and all my worries about what had been, all my pride and joy and things about the past, I just let it float away. It's no longer in my mind. And then I look at my future, all the things I want to happen, all the things that I'm thinking about, all my fears, and I just cut that cord and let it sort of float away. And again, you can do this with whatever mental image you have. And now I'm just left with this small sliver of the present, this little chord, and I let that float away too. And it seems like I'm in blackness now, but then I notice there's something there in this blackness. It's my sense of identity, my sense of purpose, my sense of who I am and how I'm trying to be in the moment. And sometimes I'll let that float away too and just float into the ether. And when you get really good at this and really quick with this, what it does is it just releases all your intentions without having to individually go through your body or however you experience intentions through voices and release each one. And so I think there's something very powerful about both working with having intentions and working with not having them. And in fact, I think there's sort of an art to this, of finding the right amount of intention to have for a situation. So in the pickup community, which is sort of learning how to get good with women, I've found this called woo versus intent. Um, Am I going out to my night just to have fun? Am I going out to my night to meet a woman, or to have a sensual experience with a beautiful woman? And balancing those two is very important to getting the outcome you want. In the business world, this is called exploration, which is sort of going out with no intent and just sort of seeing what happens, versus exploitation, which is going out and saying, I've already got this thing, and my intention is now to get money from it. So I think finding the art of figuring out how much intentionality to bring to a situation is also a really important thing to do. Finally, I think this is really powerful concept in interpersonal relationships, specifically the idea of content versus intent, and noticing what the difference is between those two things. For instance, when you're having an argument, is that a contentious argument where it's about sort of the facts and you guys have different beliefs and you got to find the beliefs that are different? Or is it an intentious argument where you want different things? You might have all the same beliefs, but you simply want different things out of the situation. Similarly, I think you can have content-focused conversations in which you're trying to, it's about the words, it's about the things that you're saying. You can have intent-focused conversations in which it's about the desire to connect. And the words might not even matter in that moment. You're passing vibes back and forth. You're passing emotions back and forth. Sometimes it's called vibing. And the content doesn't matter at all. And I've seen this referred to in some circles as signaling. But I think they're really missing what's going on there, which is just the intent to connect. And when you come in, you say, "Well, I actually believe this, and your belief is wrong." You're ruining that intent. You're misunderstanding what the conversation is about. And I think learning when you're in an intentional conversation versus a content heavy conversation is a really valuable social skill to have. Uh, Finally, the last thing I want to mention about intentions is that there's something magic about them. Maxwell Maltz calls it the reticular activating system. The Center for Applied Rationality calls it the inner simulator. It's this thing that when you have the intent to catch a ball, knows where to put your hand. It's this thing that when you have the intention to get a car, you start noticing all the for sale signs for cars in an area. Your subconscious, or whatever you want to call it, parts of you, your system one, starts pointing you and noticing the things you need for that intention. So I think intentions are very powerful because of that particular activating system or inner simulator and pointing you to the right places. But again, it's not always about that. Sometimes you want to actually let go of intentions, and finding that balance is a really powerful skill. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.